our spot making social body language.
I'm Ruchi.
I'm Alekyha.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Hanaa.
So the motivation behind our project is that in order to facilitate human-robot interaction, we want to use a method of communication that humans are already familiar with. Most humans are already somewhat familiar with canine social body language, and historically humans have been able to communicate with canines through their behaviors, and that facilitates a pathway of communication. The perception of humans versus dogs, the human perception of dogs versus robots can be put into use with the use of Spot, the Boston Dynamics mobile quadruped robot Spot. So we used to utilize the pathway of communication between humans and canines with Spot. In order to do this, we wish to put behaviors into Spot's motion library and have it behave as a dog. As you can see in the picture, Spot physically looks like a dog with a torso and 4 legs, but it just cannot currently have the ability to behave like a dog as humans perceive dogs. And so an example of the past work would be Sony's AIBO robot dog. And in this study, they found that humans can form human-animal attachment with a robot dog, even if their social behaviors are limited.
So the approach we took for our project began with a human survey. We surveyed about 57 participants to get input about what people see could be added to a robot to make it seem more like a dog, and what different behaviors represent the dog's emotions. And then from there, we picked out the top responses from the survey to implement on Spot, such as tail wagging, walking in a circle, sitting. And then from there, we used those responses to actually develop organic social body language on Spot using trajectories. And then we did another human survey on 2 different groups. We showed one group the non-canine behaviors and then another group the canine behaviors to see the differences in the perspective. And after analyzing the data, we came to the conclusion that there was a significant difference from the non-canine to the canine behaviors. And so on our pre-survey, the first question we asked 57 people what behaviors make dogs seem anxious, sad, happy, angry. We wanted to find out all the different behaviors that dogs have. And we also asked what we could add to Spot to make it seem more like a dog as opposed to just robot-like. And we restricted our survey responses by Spot's physical limitations and behavioral responses only, because we weren't trying to focus on what we could change physically, but rather behaviorally. And so this is a graph from our survey asking what added social behaviors would make Spot seem more like a dog. And the number 1 answer was wagging its tail, so we made sure to implement a tail wagging motion on our dog. And we also incorporated smoother leg movement into walking in a circle. And we tried to do this by using trajectories to make it more smooth as opposed to robot-like walking. And then we also did interacting with human by incorporating the sitting and tail wagging and play bow, because typically dogs will want to show to the human that they're ready to play or just kind of show that they're happy.
So with these results that Emily just mentioned, we chose to implement 5 behaviors. The first 3, tail wagging, play bow, and sit, involve the actual torso rotations and movement of the rotation of the body in order to implement these behaviors. And then the last 2, walk in a circle and spin, involve changes in the position of the body where the robot has to actually physically move in order to achieve those behaviors.
So the Spot rotates along the roll, pitch, and yaw axes, or at least its torso does. And additionally, we combined some of the body movements we developed for the social body language library, since live canines usually do most of these motions simultaneously and not one at a time. So for tail wagging, we rotated along roll and yaw since it was moving along diagonals to simulate a tail wagging motion. And for play bow and sitting, since it was just tilting forward and backward, only the, pitch was changed. For walking in a circle and spinning, since the torso wasn't rotating, the roll, pitch, and yaw remain unchanged. Additionally, one of our goals was to incorporate smoother movements, and we did that through the use of trajectory points, which served as midpoints in between one position to the next in order to allow for a smoother transition. So it served as kind of a goal body pose for the robot to hit before it transitioned completely into the next body movement. And this allowed smoother transitions between movements, the robot to seem less jerky. And walking in a circle, the robot changed position. It didn't rotate its torso. Roll, pitch, and yaw remained unchanged, but the velocity was 2 meters per second. It had a rotation angle of -1.5 for clockwise, 1.5 for counterclockwise, and 12 trajectory points. For a spin, since it was spinning in place, it didn't actually change in velocity, since the position didn't change. So it just had a rotation angle of -1 for clockwise and 1 for counterclockwise, and 8 trajectory points for a smoother, more organic spin. After we developed this library of canine social body movements, we conducted our human survey. Our question was, how canine-like does Spot seem? So we stationed ourselves at the intersection of 24th and Speedway to get the most foot traffic. We had a total of 113 participants of varied demographics. This included mostly UT students, but also staff and faculty and members of tour groups who were trying campus. So we used randomized inter-participant surveying in which we had some groups see the demonstration of Spot with canine behaviors and some groups see the demonstration of Spot without. So these two demonstrations, Spot with canine social behaviors, involved the library that we developed. So we showed them tail wagging, sit, play bow, walking in a circle and spin. And without canine social behaviors, we demonstrated its previous behaviors, which was moving forward and backward and side to side, like Spot could do before. And these people had to rate Spot's resemblance to a canine on a scale of 1 to 10.
And this is Spot with a dog.
This first clip is a demonstration of Spot without the canine behaviors, in which Spot is walking multi-directionally. And the second clip is a demonstration of Spot with canine behaviors. Spot starts off walking in a circle, before transitioning into spinning. Next, the Spot sat and wagged its tail, before finally getting to a play-bow position and wagging its tail once more.
So this histogram is a representation of our data that we got from our survey. So on the left is the survey results from the canine behavior demonstration versus on the right for the non-canine behavior demonstration. And this histogram shows the distribution of our data, as well as that we got 35 responses for canine behavior and 35 responses for canine behavior and 78 responses for non-canine behavior. And then furthermore, we analyzed this with a box plot, and so you can see the difference in the distribution of the data as well as the difference in the medians. For non-canine behavior, the median was closer to 7, and then for canine behavior, the median was closer to 8.
So the mean for non-canine behavior, when respondents rated Spot's canine resemblance on a scale of 1 to 10 was 6.77. For canine behavior, it was 7.69. And through these 113 participants responding to this question, we obtained a significant difference across the two conditions for the two demonstrations. Using a one-way analysis of variance, we got a p-value of 0.019, which signifies statistically significant results. So the means were different, and human perception of Spot without canine behaviors versus Spot with added canine behaviors did differ.
We had the goal of implementing smooth, organic canine social behaviors to make Spot seem like a canine. Based on the analysis of our results, we can conclude that the addition of both body positions and physical movements that resemble that of a canine did in fact make Spot seem like a canine to the human population. In the future, we will conduct a second survey that probes whether people recognize Spot's body language as behaviors specific to that of a canine or not. And in addition, we will expand Spot's movement library to include more behaviors. Thank you.
All right, do we have questions?
Yes?
Why were there so many more responses for non-canine behavior than canine behavior?
So to like randomize like inter-participant survey, we did them both on different days. And so we conducted one of the surveys on Friday and the other one on Monday, which was the last day of classes. And so there was just like less foot traffic, even though we stayed for the same amount of time.
Other questions? Yeah.
Do you think that there was like any bias in your selection of participants, or do you like make sure that you just caught like, cause like I guess everyone is from UT, so could that have sort of an effect on your results?
Yeah, the fact that everyone was from UT and also that it was mainly college-aged students could have been a bias. So we could have like a more randomized population.
It's a well-documented effect, though. Everyone wants their studies on college kids.